Action. We're at 13. Action is necessary or appropriate on matters discussed in executive session.
I have a motion.
Mr. Lovelace.
I make the motion that we approve the items presented for selected employment, Exhibit A for action.
Do I have a second? Ms. Huddle seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that passes 7-0. Any other items from executive session?
Yeah, I have one for item 3C.
Okay.
From executive session. I move that the interim superintendent direct the district's attorneys to move forward with any legal remedies the district might have to correct at the contractor's expense latent roof defects at the Chapin High School 2008 bond referendum project. This motion is intended to include any latent water tightness defects with components of wall and roof construction.
Do I have a second? Ms. Huddle seconds. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 2, all those opposed. 1 opposed, and is that an abstention? I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand. Did you voted no? I got you. That's what I thought, but then I didn't see your hand. Okay, thank you. So that was 5-2. Thank you. Any other motions from executive session?
Ms. Hammond?
Ms. Huddle, you have to recuse yourself. Yeah, thank you.
Per item 3D, I move that, well, I'll wait just a sec. I'll talk slowly. Per item 3D, I move that Mead and Hunt be awarded as the qualified engineering and architectural firm to provide services as the district representative for closeout of Piney Woods Elementary.
Is there a second? Ms. Gardner seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 1, 2, 3. That's 5. And all noes. Ms. Hines, no. And then abstention from Mr. Lovelace. You may come back. Let's see, that was D. Any other motions that we need on the energy savings? Yeah, the energy savings. Thank you. E.
Yeah, I make the motion under item 3E. I move that the interim superintendent negotiate the contract for services with CMTA Energy Solutions as a guaranteed energy savings contractor as shown in Exhibit D, provided that the projects be completed within the time limits set by the U.S. government for completion to gain ESSER funding.
Is there a second? Second, Ms. Gardner. Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion? And that is 7 and no opposed.
Ms. Hammond,
F.
I have one for 3F.
All right.
I move that we contract with the procurement audit firm that met the requirements of the RFP for the detailed procurement audit, provided that the firm agrees to extend their South Carolina license to at least 12/31/22.
Is there a second? Ms. Gardner seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion? And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All those opposed? 2. And that motion carries 5-2. And that G was moved to discussion. And so H. Yes, Mr. Hogan.
Ms. Hammond, I move that the board direct our attorney to contact superintendent applicants A, B, and C to schedule interviews with the board during the months of December.
Thank you. Is there a second? Ms. Huddle seconds. Any discussion? Ms. Hines?
I'm going to explain my vote on this one before we take the vote. And it is not indicative of how I feel for Dr. Ross, but I feel like the circumstances that surrounded Dr. Ross's appointment as an interim superintendent, one of the things that was said to me was that it was important that he was interviewed against competitive candidates. And I don't believe that we've been given we've done a proper search within our state for the appropriate number of applicants. And it's not, this is not, I'm not speaking against the candidate pool that we did get, but we received 5 applications because, in my opinion, of the timing of when we are trying to do this search, it wasn't what we discussed when we originally hired him as an interim. And I don't think that we can properly select the best superintendent without the right applicant pool. I don't think that we need to spend $60,000 for a search. I think that the way that we, the manner in which we implemented the search is fine. I just don't think that the timing was right. I think we're trying to force through the hiring process, and I think that does a disservice to both Dr. Ross and our district. And I understand that not everybody agrees with me on that, and that's okay. And my vote is not about him specifically. It is about the process. So I would just like to clarify that.
Ms. Huddle?
Hammond, would it be all right to have Ms. White just explain how we conducted the search, how we advertised for it?
Mm-hmm.
So when the board asked me to conduct the search, we talked about this initially back in, I guess, August, late August. And so what I did, and let me say this first, I'm an attorney. I am not a superintendent search consultant. However, I have done superintendent searches in a number of school districts over the years, and in fact did one recently for the Chester County School District. So when I was asked to conduct this superintendent search, we placed an ad in the American Association of School Administrators publication, which is both a print publication as well as it has an online presence. And we also placed an ad in the South Carolina Association of School Administrators, which is the same mechanisms that I have used in the past in searching for for superintendent applicants. That ad ran for 2 weeks, and it specified what the minimum qualifications were, which was that the person hold a superintendent certificate, that they have teaching experience, and that they have at least 1 year district office experience. They had to submit their resume along with a letter of interest and also identify references. So that was what the search process initially consisted of. We did have 5 applicants who responded to that. And I explained to the board that due to a number of circumstances here, I think that that's why the applicant pool was smaller than it otherwise would have been. And, I would have expected to see somewhere around 35 or 40 applicants for this position. But again, due to kind of the circumstances surrounding where we are, I think that's why we got 5 applicants. I will say that they are a good pool of applicants, including at least one other applicant from the state of South Carolina.
Okay.
Any other questions for me?
I do.
Mr. Lovelace?
Yeah, so we've got 5 applicants and we've advertised for 2 weeks. Okay. I know you're not clairvoyant, you don't have a crystal ball, but what would you say would be the advantage of re-advertising and going? I don't believe that a national search firm, and I've listened to the State School Board Association's pitch, and I know that this district has done that in the past, not successfully with the State School Board Association. So my question to you is, what is the likelihood? I know it's neither probable nor remote, but I just want to know, in your opinion, what is the likelihood that we would get a better distribution of candidates if we re-advertised?
Mr. Lovelace, as you said, that's nothing that I can predict, but given my experience with this process and also the fact that the circumstances, if we were, let's say, to do the search again in March, the circumstances would be the same in terms of the fact that we have an interim superintendent. who was selected by all 7 of you, who has experience in this district, both as a principal and at the district office level. I think the fact that there is a strong internal applicant for that position is probably the main factor that led to the smaller pool of applicants. So I don't know that if we did another search in the spring that we would get any more than we already have. Because the fact of the matter is that it was a national search in the sense that it was in this national publication, the American Association of School Administrators, which it's the same search process that was used, the same publications. I did the search recently in Chester, in the Chester County School District. They did not have an interim in place at the time. That position had been vacated by the resignation of their prior superintendent. So the only thing that, if you were to hire a national search firm, or even the School Board Association, I think the only difference would be that either the School Board Association or a national search firm would call people that they think might be interested in the position, and then those people would say yes or no. When I did the search, I did have one sitting superintendent in the state call me and say that he was thinking about applying for the position. He knew me. He had known me for quite some time, and he said, I may apply, but I'm not sure, because I know Dr. Ross is highly respected within the state, and so I'm not sure that I'm going to apply. And then in fact that person didn't apply. So I don't know that I really don't think it would make any difference if we went back and said, okay, let's advertise not only on AASA but some other print publications out there, or for me to call people. Like if you said to me, please call people that that you think would be a good fit for this district based on my experience as a school lawyer, and I've worked with this district for more than 30 years in one capacity or another as far as representing you. If I was to call people that I know that are seated superintendents in school districts, I think it would be the same response as far as, well, there's a strong internal candidate there. I don't wish to put my current position in, just throwing it out there, the Florence 1 school district in jeopardy by applying for a position where I think there's a strong internal candidate.
Ms. Gardner.
This isn't a question, but just more of a statement. I agree wholeheartedly that it would be nice if we could interview and make sure that Dr. Ross was the right applicant, but I think the fact that he is a strong internal applicant, and anybody across the country can Google his name and see all of his credentials, no one would even think that they could beat him based on his own credentials. We're not going to get any more applicants from the state of South Carolina because I feel that we have the best candidate already here. He knows our district. He knows what we're going through. He's already been working. He's knee deep in it. Now he's neck deep in it right now, actually, I should say. He's probably almost drowning. And I just putting all the cards on the table from one trustee, I think it's a waste of time to interview anyone, because we're only trying to make sure he's the right candidate when I already feel like he is. Because we've seen a lot of the superintendents across the state, and you're right, they're not going to put their name in the hat if it jeopardizes their own positions, just in case. They're going to do it only if they feel like they have a chance, and I don't know if anybody in our state would be as qualified as Dr. Ross is right at this moment, especially with the high volatility of the circumstances with COVID and all the things that we're dealing with. So that's my 2 cents on that matter, and I will let anyone else speak.
Thank you. Ms. Moore.
I know that this is a special case. When typically would a district put out an open application for a superintendent?
That generally happens in the spring, unless you have a situation where you know that a superintendent is going to be leaving in the middle of the year for whatever reason it might be, to take a position elsewhere or to retire or for health reasons. Then the superintendent normally would let his or her board know that during the summer, that I'm only going to work through December, and then the search would start in the fall. So it is more usual and customary for searches to start in the spring, but it's not extraordinary for them to happen in the fall, with the idea being that that the person selected would not start until July 1, because they would need to leave their job and provide proper notice. Because I say this, I don't say it flippantly, but it's a truism, is that somebody that their board will release them in the middle of the year is not somebody you want, because they're leaving for a reason.
Could one assume then that we didn't get a lot of candidates because no one necessarily is looking in October and November, and that March would allow for more people to apply for this position?
I would say no, and the reason that I would say that is this: if someone is looking for a position, and they've just, whether they are a number 2 in a school district or if they're a seated superintendent, they're going to be looking throughout the year to see what comes up. So I don't know that they would wait till, like, if they've been watching District 5, for example, or if they want to move to South Carolina and they're looking to see what might come open in South Carolina, I think they would be looking all the time, at every time that there's a new publication of AASA. So I don't think, and of course, I don't have a crystal ball, but I don't think that would impact the number of applicants.
Ms. Gardner?
I just have one more statement too. I mean, it's been very high profile that we lost the superintendent. And so everybody who would want to be in this district, who would want to be a superintendent, has probably been watching it since June 15th or whatever date it started all along. So it's not like it's just a surprise that we put it out. I think everyone's been watching it and knowing it, and we've discussed it. So I think anybody who wanted to apply or felt that they had a chance probably did apply.
I would like to say that I appreciate the fact that we are 7 members with our own 7 opinions. But I know that Dr. Ross stepped up in, as you said, an unusual situation and has taken the helm, and I could not be more proud of some of the programs he's taken on and the fight he's taken. And I want to say publicly, he is the one that said to me he wanted us to feel like we were able to advertise and that he was put in the mix so that he could compete. It was not a chosen one, as some people want to think. And I can respect people's opinions, but I definitely agree with something that Ms. Gardner said earlier. When we have someone that we've already been able to see on the job training, we certainly can evaluate that. I've gone through 6 superintendent searches. We've paid as much as $60,000 to get somebody from out of state that was really didn't work out at all. We've also had precedent where we didn't interview anyone. The board voted not to interview anyone and appointed a superintendent. And she was a really good superintendent. So you can get a really good superintendent when 7 board members think they're good and you're a superintendent before you. So there are different ways to do this. We have not done anything wrong as a board. We've really tried to do the right thing for Dr. Ross. And I could not respect a leader more than I respect Dr. Ross. But part of that, I'm a little bit like Ms. Gardner over there, and I don't mind saying it. I'd have been one to say if the majority of this board would vote that you don't want to do a search, we didn't have to, but we voted to do a search. And I'm going to say again, because Dr. Ross wanted that. He wanted to be put up against others and measured. And so I'm ready for this to be voted on, and I appreciate Ms. White, and I know that she vetted the ones we did get. And the very idea, I mean, we've had 35 and 40 before and not got a very good one. So I don't think the number at all is indicative of whether we're going to get a first-class superintendent when we finish voting. And I appreciate you have one from out of state and you have one in-state. Well, 2 in-state. And I can tell you, sometimes it's very important that they know our colloquialisms, and they don't come from another state. Ms. White, you'll attest to that. We've had a lot that moved down here, and we're very different here. So I don't think we need to talk this anymore. I'm ready for a vote. So all those in favor of, would you read it again? It's A, B, C.
I move that the board direct our attorney to contact superintendent applicants A, B, and C to schedule interviews with the board during the month of December.
All those in favor of that. And that's 1, 2, 3, that's 4, I mean, I can't count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 2 vote. Oh, you don't want to even search it, I got you. Okay, excuse me, I thought I counted. So we have those opposed, 2. So the motion carries. Next, that we got that done. We are on any other, that was the last thing to have because G is going to be in discussion. We are on 14. Second and final reading of proposed revisions to board policy IHAQ, career transition to work education. Need a motion. You have it, Ms. Huddle? Do you have it?
I'll make it up
Do you
as I
have
go.
it?
Do you
Ms.
have it?
Hines, do you have
I
it?
can read the recommendation.
Okay.
I move that the Board of Trustees approve the recommended revisions of Board Policy IHAQ, Career Transitions to Work Education.
Is there a second? Ms. Huddle seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion? And that is 7, and no opposed. And we are on number 15. Resolution in South Carolina School Boards Association concerning the National School Boards Association Exhibit J. Before I go further with that, I'm going to allow, I'd like to request Ms. Gardner to read this. And I'd like to give you a little history, since I'm a history teacher. We had a resolution that got changed after the state School Boards Association did decide to pull out of the national because of this. So I'm going to let her read this, but we were standing strong against staying in the National School Board Association if they did not get out. So I want the public to know this school board had, I don't know if it, who would have voted how, but I can tell you there were enough of us that wanted it on the agenda that we supported making a statement to the National School Boards Association for parents.
I'm going to begin by making a motion, though, first.
Okay.
So I move that we approve the resolution to South Carolina School Boards Association concerning the National School Boards Association as seen in Exhibit J.
Okay, is there a second? And Ms. Huddle second.
All right, and this is what it reads. Whereas School District 5 of Richland and Lexington Counties is a member of SCSBA and pays annual dues to the SCSBA, which stands for South Carolina School Boards Association. Whereas the SCSBA is a member of the NSBA, whereas on September 29th, 2021, NSBA sent an official letter to the President of the United States requesting the federal government to, quote, investigate, intercept, and prevent the current threats and acts of violence against our public school officials, close quote. Whereas the NSBA letter characterized concerned parents as, quote, equivalent to a form of domestic terrorism, close quote. Whereas the NSBA does not speak for the School District 5 of Richland and Lexington counties, yet sent a letter stating that they were writing, quote, on behalf of our state associations and the more than 90,000 school board members who govern our country's 14,000 local public school districts, close quote. Whereas the NSBA sent a letter to its member state associations apologizing for the letter, but did not send a letter to the President of the United States withdrawing its original letter. Whereas the School District 5 of Richland and Lexington counties does not believe it is appropriate for the membership fees it pays to SCSBA to be paid to the NSBA. Whereas many states, including Ohio, Pennsylvania, Missouri, Louisiana, Montana, and New Hampshire have withdrawn from the NSBA due to this issue. And whereas the School District 5 of Richland and Lexington counties strongly supports the role of parents in their children's education via Policy KB, parent involvement in education, and strongly disagrees with the characterization of parents as portrayed in the NSBA's letter, be it resolved this day, November 15th, 2021, School District 5 of Richland and Lexington counties supports the South Carolina School Boards Association's decision to immediately withdraw from membership in the National School Boards Association.
Thank you, Ms. Gardner. Any discussion from the motion? All those in favor of the resolution, of the motion? And that is 7 to none. Thank you. And thank you for the legwork on that, Ms. Gardner.